Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell by the title of this video, today I will be telling you about my newly discovered food allergies, because I felt like this is something I should share with the YouTube world, because there may be people who don't realize have food allergies and they're struggling with different physical and psychological issues, and they don't realize that it's coming from the gut and from what they eat. And also I am quite comfortable with dealing with those intolerances, and I'm not sad that I can't have potatoes or wheat anymore. I actually feel empowered, because now I know if I don't eat those things I'll be a lot healthier and feel better. And actually it works instantly. As soon as I eat some wheat, like a piece of bread or something, I can feel this thing happening in my head. But anyway, I don't have any sort of script prepared or structure to this video. I will just flow through and hopefully I'll cover all the points that I'd like to cover. So firstly, what is wrong with me, right? So how did I go and find out that I've got food allergies? So probably about 3 years ago, maybe longer, I realized that I just wasn't feeling right. There was always this like cloud in my head, and I remembered previously feeling this clarity in my head, being able to look at things and think about things without this sort of cloud. That's the best words I can think of to describe it. And the first thing I thought was, okay, I must be deficient in some vitamins and minerals, and that's where it's coming from. Especially that I was vegan at the time. So last year or the year before, I started eating some eggs and fish. I still don't really eat dairy, and I don't think I'll ever eat meat, but anyhow, I was vegan for like 6 years in total. But at the time when I first started noticing these things that are not quite right, I thought it must be my veganism, because even though I was trying to eat healthy, I still mainly ate like bread and potatoes, chips, so with vegetables, but not with every meal. So I thought, well, it must be deficient. So I was eating this supplement every day, and also I would get some blood tests done every now and then, but they were always fine. I was never shown deficiency in anything. So now my next thought was, maybe I'm a little bit anemic, because I was slightly anemic when I was like 17 maybe. I almost fainted a couple of times, and I had these heart palpitations and just like was feeling very weak, and it turned out I was almost like on the verge of being anemic. And at the time I was actually eating meat and dairy and everything. When I started feeling like a bit off, I thought, well, maybe that's what's happening again. So I went to the doctors and I told them what I think is going on and how I feel, and they just said, yeah, we'll do some blood tests. And the blood tests came back perfect. There was literally nothing wrong with my blood. There was no anemic signs, and my B12 was fine. All these like key things were excellent. So I was like, right, so why do I feel like this then? Why, if you're telling me everything's fine, but I don't feel fine in my head, I feel awful, and it's every day. So yeah, I didn't get anywhere with medical help there, and I kind of gave up, like, well, this must be just it. But then I noticed some days I don't get that effect, and then I thought, well, actually it's after food. I get up feeling fine, but then as soon as I have my breakfast, this cloud fog just emerges in my brain, and then it stays, and then it goes away a little bit, and then after lunch it comes back, and then after dinner or tea, where I like to have a big portion, then it's like I eat my tea and I'm like, oh, that's it, now I can just lie on the couch and go to bed. Because I noticed it was happening after food, my thought was, well, actually it's normal to be a bit tired after food, right? So it's just a rush of calories and I shouldn't worry about it. But then as I was going on like that for months and months, I was like just getting sick of it. Like, why can I not feel 100% in my head when I know that is possible? Because in the past I did have that feeling. So my next thought was, maybe it's gluten, right? Because gluten is the nasty little thing that so many people can't process in their bodies. And actually I went gluten-free, well, as much as I could, meaning I was buying gluten-free bread. I was still eating pasta, but like for the most part I was trying to be as gluten-free as I could with my habits, and that helped actually almost 100%. So I thought, well, it must be gluten intolerant. But then like I said, there was improvement, but I wasn't fully happy with it. And that's when, a few months ago now, I found out about this allergy specialist, because someone I know, they were having very bad pains and horrible problems in their gut after eating, and they couldn't figure out what it was. So she went to this allergy specialist, and then she came back with a list of things that are triggering that, and he told her just basically to cut those things out And when she does, all those symptoms, all those pains were gone. And I was sold on that immediately. If I can find out and have a confirmation that it's gluten or whatever else, then I can improve my everyday life by so much. So I went to that specialist. I'll put the name of the method he uses on the screen because I can't remember it now and I need to look it up. I didn't do any research or anything. I just trusted him because of my friend who went there. And yeah, it was like this machine, electromagnetism machine, where I was holding this metal thing and then had my hand out and he was swapping like samples of different substances inside the machine while poking my finger. So that sent like a current through my body to see how I react to that substance. And we went through all kinds of things like food and also animal stuff and paint and colorants. And the results were that I am allergic to wheat. So not gluten, just wheat. Potatoes, but only white potatoes. I'm fine with sweet potato. And there's another type of potato from like South America. I can't remember what it's called, but I'm fine with that one too. Strawberries, bananas. And then I also shown some moderate reaction to pollen, grass, cat hair, dog hair, and some colorants. Now I already knew I was a little bit allergic to some animal hair. And like pollen, yeah, I get hay fever sometimes, but not every time. And I was given this report with everything in it, and then some recommendations, so how I can substitute these things that I'm allergic to and what I can eat instead and all that. And now that I don't eat those things, I just feel so great every day. My head is clear. If you're experiencing that, you'll know what I mean. It's really hard to describe. You can still go about your life, you can do things, you can achieve things, you can function, but it's just decreasing the quality of your everyday life. And now I don't have that at all. I have my breakfast, I'm fine. I have my lunch, even if my lunch is like a massive lunch with lots of different carbs, I feel fine after it. Now I need to talk about the reality of cutting wheat and potato out, right? Because potatoes are everywhere. Chips, boiled potatoes, mashed potatoes, they are just such a staple. And same with wheat, any sort of wraps, pizzas, pasta, bread. It's just such a massive element of everyday diet. And also going out and grabbing some food out, you will come across those things, especially wheat, so much so it may seem like a big challenge and headache and just terrible thing to do to cut those out, but I don't look at it like that. I could eat mashed potatoes every day. I love potatoes and chips. Bread, most days I would have bread for breakfast and lunch, sometimes even for my tea. And everyone who I told about this were like, oh my god, what are you gonna do, Monica? You love your bread, you love your sandwiches, booties. And I could have looked at it like that, but actually the way I looked at it was, if I know that not eating those things is gonna make me feel better, then I'm happy to give those up. It's empowering. So why would I want to consume those things if I know they're bad for me? My body can't process them, and that's why it's causing my system to struggle, because there's too much energy going into my stomach, into my gut to process those things. My brain is secondary then. So that's why I was feeling like that. Something that I learned as well when I went for my test was that the brain fog is just one thing. If we eat things that our bodies don't know what to do with, they can't process them, then too much energy goes into the gut, and also it's just damaging to have those substances there, so that can cause all kinds of different problems. So I actually have quite a low immunity. I get ill quite easily, and my nose is always dripping, not in like when you have a cold, but when I do some exercise in the cold air, or in winter if I'm like in and out of buildings changing temperature, my nose always drips, and I've had that for years. I also get bloated quite easily. I have some skin issues, so my dry skin, but also on my face, like I tend to break out quite easily. So there's all these things, and according to the allergy specialist, that's all because of eating things I shouldn't be eating. So he said if I just cut out the things that I'm allergic to, everything will improve over time. I need to give it time naturally, and there may be side effects actually when you suddenly cut wheat out or potato out. On the test he also tested for minerals and vitamins. So one thing I was low in was vitamin D. Now I live in the cloudiest, wettest place, maybe not in the world, but it's very wet and cloudy here in the north of England. So I'm not surprised that I'm deficient in vitamin D, even though I went to Gran Canaria couple of months ago. That is just not enough sun. He just said to buy some supplements, and I actually bought some from him from a health shop downstairs. So now, how am I dealing with cutting out the most common food ingredients in today's diet. Luckily, I am not allergic to gluten, which is amazing because I do love my bread, I do love my pastas. So all I need to do is to make sure I eat those things made from different flours than wheat. So like spelt flour, rye flour, buckwheat flour, rice flour, corn flour. I can have all those flours. What I can't have is wheat flour and also potato flour. So in gluten-free breads, there's just like such a mixture of different flours, and a lot of the time there's lots of potato flour in those. So I can't have gluten-free bread, but actually that's fine because gluten-free bread is not that good anyway. Yeah, with bread, if you go to a supermarket, even if it says rye bread, if you check the ingredients, it will have wheat flour mixed into it. So yeah, I couldn't find any wheat-free bread in traditional supermarkets, but I went to a Polish shop because Polish baking and breads can be quite old-fashioned, and I found a rye sourdough bread which has only 4 ingredients in it: rye flour, rye sourdough, salt and water. If I have time, I go to town to buy that rye bread from a Polish shop, but I have learned how to make my own bread too. So I have a bread machine at home, so I have made some wholemeal spelt bread. Yesterday actually I made a white flour spelt bread that came out really nice. Like, I'm so made up with it. I've got some rye flour, but I haven't tried to make my own rye bread just yet. So that's how I deal with bread. But the fact that it's a lot harder to get bread that I can eat, and also I can't be making a loaf of bread every day because like I work and I do other things, so that's just impossible. But that's good because that means I don't eat as much bread, because bread in general, if it's made with like healthier flours, I believe it's not that unhealthy, but it's not the healthiest thing to eat. So now I try to only have bread once a day. So I will have some, say, for breakfast. That means I don't have bread for lunch. I will have different carbs. If I don't have bread for breakfast, I will have it for lunch. Then when it comes to like pastas and wraps, noodles, that's actually very easy. You can go to any supermarket, head to the free from section, and you'll find things like buckwheat noodles. Those are actually amazing. I've seen spelt pasta, but I've not tried it yet. I was in Aldi the other week and they had things like chickpea pasta and pea pasta, and when I checked ingredients, it was literally like chickpea flour and pea flour and another type. So I got that, but I've not tried it yet. There's obviously rice noodles. I know there's a couple more different varieties, but I've just not bought or tried those. In terms of wraps, there are some gluten-free tortillas that actually don't have any potato flour in them, and they taste really good. Now in terms of potatoes, luckily I can have sweet potatoes, so that's quite easy. Even if I go out and there's like a nice meal, nice fish meal with some potatoes and vegetables, I'll just ask to swap those potatoes for something else if I see that they also offer sweet potato fries or something else. And also I have things like buckwheat, rice, bulgur wheat. It's not that difficult actually. It's just knowing what you can have instead. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, or if there's something I forgot to mention that could be useful as well. Just a disclaimer before I go. After I had the test, I googled the method to see what people on the internet say, and I found 2 articles. One on the NHS website that said that is like an alternative method to check for food allergies, and then there was an article on some university or some, can't remember what it was, but which was saying basically like that is not a reliable way to test for food allergies and you shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. I believe in it because I can see the effect, and it's definitely not a placebo. You can't make your brain fog disappear just by thinking you don't have it. My nose feels better. It still drips sometimes, but it does feel a lot better. However, I know that gluten is something that triggers more mucus production, and I still have my gluten, so yeah, I can't be fully healed in terms of my nose, so that's fine. And the allergy specialist actually told me that poking your skin and putting allergies under, that sort of testing, he said it's only 10% effective. So anyhow, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.